have a bit of a chat about some of the tools that you'll use when out in the field ferreting. Starting with talking about the shovel, probably one of the most useful bits of equipment that you'll have in your bag. Now, two reasons the shovel is good out in the field is if your ferret happens to lay up, and laying up means catches a baby rabbit or any rabbit and has a good feed and has a sleep, you can use that to obviously dig them out. Now the second one, and I'll run through that a little bit later on, is once you've field dressed your rabbit, is carrying it out on the shovel. So that's quite good as well. Now a couple other bits and pieces is your secateurs, and the secateurs I explained to you earlier, using them around the holes, clear them up, clear the black bruise, those sorts of things. Now if you choose to wear a pair of gloves are also good as well. Now also we've got your knife. Now I tend to use quite a small knife, and when we field dress the rabbit a little bit later on, I'll show you why a knife with a good sharp point but a little bit of a indentation in the blade helps you clean your rabbit. Now we've also got the purse nets. Now you can buy these on the internet. Now there's a number of different sorts. This is a standard 4-foot purse net, and is basically ideal while you're out ferreting. Now with your ferrets, we've got a couple of polecats here. Now both of these ferrets are relatively young, so it's really vital you start training your ferrets as soon as you can, and a good way to train them is get them out in the field, you know, get them into the burrows, or even at home. I tend to spend a lot of time with my ferrets letting them run around, and you can use PVC pipe and those sorts of things, but it's really really important that your ferrets are fit, because if they're not fit, they're not going to be able to spend a day running around burrows and working the way you want them to. So that's really important. So these are a couple of, you know, as I said, juvenile females. They're already starting to show a lot of potential, but the more time you spend with them and handling them, the less chance you're going to get bitten, and the better they're going to work when you're out in the field. So, you know, look after your animals and they'll look after you. Alright guys, a couple of things that we need to look at when you approach a set of burrows. First thing is start scouting the area for, you know, all the holes where potentially you're going to lose rabbits, or where rabbits can bolt out of. We've got a series of 3 here that you want to look at. Now it's also vital while you're scouting these holes is looking for tiny little holes where rabbits can escape. Here's a classic one just here that's hidden in the grass. So keep an eye out for these sorts of holes while you're going scouting around. Now the trick of setting a pin, is you don't want to push it in that sort of way. I mean, if you've been out camping, you set up a tent, that's just going to pull out under any pressure. So put your pin in on a slight angle, okay, and then spread your net out. Now nets will tend to want to have a certain way that they close up, okay. You can see at the bottom of this one here that it tends to want to close that way. So the idea is get your bottom ring nice and into the hole, spread your net around, and then just have your ring sitting at the top. A couple of mistakes that people make, especially on holes on a bank where the net tends to want to fall off the hole, is to sit the ring over the top of the pin. Now that's a really big no-no. If you do that and a bunny comes out of that, the net won't tend to want to close. So it's really important that you sit the ring just on the top of the hole. Now if for some reason it is a difficult hole and you will come across those where the net tends to want to fall off the bank or whatever, you can use, let's say, a small twig if you wish, just to hold the pin. But if a bunny was to come running out, that'll obviously still close up quite nicely. So once you've finished scouting your holes, you have a walk around, have a look at, like I said, for any of these small, tiny little holes where you can lose rabbits. Spend the time, take the time walking around and having a look. Because 9 times out of 10, if you don't net that hole, that's where the bunny will come out of. Okay? welcome back. What a great day. Yeah, we had a wonderful days out ferreting, really successful, total of about 15 rabbits today, so a lot of fun. Ferrets were working really well. As I spoke about last time, the ferrets were quite young and required a bit of training to bring them up to a point where they were competent in chasing the bunnies down the holes. But today was really successful. I said about 15 rabbits. So what we'll have a bit of a chat about is what you want to do when you're out on the field. Obviously you're not going to carry a table like this everywhere you go when you go ferreting. So there's a couple of things you might want to know if you are out in the field and you want to get your rabbits back to the car. Obviously if you catch a whole bunch of rabbits, the hardest thing is to obviously be carrying them around by hand. So utilising the trusty shovel will get them back to the car. So what you might want to do on a rabbit like this one is once you've finished your ferreting, you're done for the morning, is grab your knife. Now it's your choice whether you field dress the rabbit out in the field or do it when you get back to your car. But all you need to do if you're going to carry them on the shovel is just make a small incision just behind the back leg. Grab the other foot, just drop it inside, and then you can quite easily grab a bunch of your rabbits, hang them on your shovel, over your shoulder, and away you go. So that's a great way of carrying your rabbits back to your car. It's a lot easier that way. Okay, let's go through field dressing your bunny. Now it's your choice if you want to wear gloves. The smell of the rabbit is quite strong, and if you don't want to have stinky hands for the next couple of days, these gloves you can pick up at the supermarket, nice and cheap. I often don't wear gloves, but the wife doesn't always like the smell of rabbit. Okay, now a couple of things you want to start off with is just removing the contents from the bladder, and you can do that by just squeezing it. This one mostly is empty anyway. Now to gut your rabbit, and there's lots of different ways of doing this. You know, you might speak to someone and they were taught to do it one way, but this is the way I was taught. Just make a small incision along the back legs here, from one leg to the other. Now these are young rabbits, so they should always skin and gut quite easily. A couple of things you want to look at too on a rabbit is, I mean, these ones were ferreted a little while ago, but also how bright their eyes are and those sorts of things, because obviously you don't want to take a rabbit home that might be diseased. And obviously myxomatosis and the calicivirus are those sorts of diseases that you want to be looking out for. Okay, we're just making a small incision just on the inside here. Be really careful at this point, because you don't want to break the stomach or the intestines, because that will spoil your meat. Now the trick of it is you want to be removing all of this. Get your hands right up inside there and just remove all the intestines, stomach, and there'll be a line just up inside the chest cavity, which you'll need to bring your hands through, or your finger through, and then you can remove the lungs and the heart. Just have a look at that, make sure they're nice and bright, and also the kidneys as well, which I've already removed. Here buddy. Right mate, so you want to make sure they're nice and clean. Now this is a really important thing that you need to do, because once you take your rabbit home, if you haven't
coming through the bone just at the back here. Okay, it's quite easy. Breaking that open, all right, and then removing that last little bit. Okay, if you end up leaving that in there, it will spoil the meat. You can clean all these little bits later on, but it's really important that you cut that little bit of section that joins the two there, and remove that last little bit of liner. Okay. All right. So now that's done, you can leave it like that until you get back home, and even if that's tomorrow, you could place these into your esky if you want to, but that'll stay quite fresh, and closing it up like that will stop the blowflies getting in there and spoiling that meat. Okay, now we'll move on to how we're going to actually skin the rabbit. And once again, there's a couple of different methods in skinning a rabbit, but we'll just run through the basic ways of skinning a rabbit. Now, as I said, these rabbits are quite young and their skin will come off really easy. Okay, so all you're wanting to do is just bring the skin all the way off here, and you can see it comes off quite easy. All right, same on the other side, just pushing the leg through. Once a rabbit gets older, this gets a little bit tougher, and you may even need to use your knife to do this, but you can actually push your fingers through really easy, and you can see it just comes off. Now at the back here, where the tailbone is, just slice that through. Obviously watching your fingers on the other side. Okay, grab the two legs, and it just comes off beautifully. Now you might find a little bit of bruising on your rabbit from your ferret, but that's not a problem. Okay, all the way off. And you're getting all the way up to where the top legs are. Maybe pull that a little bit more. There we go. Okay, once again, like the back legs, all you need to do is pinch it with your fingers, and you'll see a thin little bit of skin just at the top there. Just push that through with your knife. Just at this point here, make a small cut. Okay, just like that. Push that through.
And then check the outside?
Yeah, we can check the outside. Cut that. Same on the other side. Just push your finger through. Pull the last little bit of skin off. Just make an incision there. Alright.
And then pull it off?
Yep, pull it off. And once again, cut that. Obviously, having a good sharp knife always makes.
Cut it all up?
Yep, and we'll just around the neck, all the way through, and just remove it. There you go. So there's your skun rabbit. Okay. Later on, you can take these off, or you can take them off now. It doesn't really matter. Once again, just through. Do both sides. The back leg is a little bit thicker than the front one, a little bit stronger. Other side.
And make sure you have to pull the leg off.
Okay. Now that's ready to put into your esky. And once you've done all your rabbits, put it into the esky. And if you're not near home, it's ideal to have your thanks Ben, to have your esky with a bit of ice, especially if you're going out ferreting for a couple of days. You don't want your meat to spoil, so put it in an esky with a bit of ice, and then transport that home. You can either cook that up straight away, or give it a little bit of a wash. Obviously, there's a little bit of fur and those sorts of things. Give that a little bit of a clean into the freezer, and then it's there when you're ready. That's basically how you go through cleaning and skinning your rabbit. Ready to cook?
Now do that one.
And that one. Your turn, Ben.
I can cut it.
Maybe when you're a bit older. Okay guys, back at the kitchen. Had a wonderful day out ferreting yesterday. We've got some lovely rabbit. Now we're back in the kitchen, obviously, to prepare that and cook that up for a wonderful meal. Now, a lot of people tend to have an issue with eating game meat, so we're actually going to try and guide you through on how to cook game meat and so you can plate it up and it's tasty to anybody who wants to have a go. So quite a simple recipe, really good recipe to have on a cold winter's day. Mushrooms, obviously the rabbit. We're going to do some roast potatoes and roast pumpkin as well, and we will put the rabbit in a nice stock which will soak overnight or about 12 hours. So let's get into it. So first off we'll dice up the ingredients that we need, and we'll get it all into a pot, and then that will soak, as I said, overnight for 12 hours. So your mushrooms, it doesn't matter if your mushrooms are cut up quite coarsely, they will also be baked at a later stage. Right, so do yourself a nice big handful of mushrooms. I'm not operating on any precise ingredients or measurements, I should say. Okay, get yourself a nice bowl. Okay, so we've diced up our basic ingredients in the pot already. We've got our mushrooms, we've got some tomato, we've got some carrot and a coarsely chopped onion. Now also doing the rabbit at the moment, and you want to dice your rabbit up into bites, or not so much bite-sized pieces, but pieces that are going to be easy to plate later on. So I've removed the back legs, and they come off quite easily. Follow the sort of the join line, and they actually come off quite easily. Same at the front, same into the pot, and then your carcass as well. You've still got quite a lot of really usable, really tasty meat, so make sure that goes in too. We really want to avoid wasting any of the rabbit. Okay, so they're in the pot. We're going to add a couple more ingredients here. Garlic, obviously we use garlic in lots of recipes. Straight down the middle, the whole thing goes in. All right, we've got a chilli. Now this can obviously be to taste, and how much chilli you end up putting into your stew or your cooked rabbit. Still going to chop it up quite coarse, and I'm going to leave the seeds in. Seeds are generally where all the heat is held in your chilli. I like my rabbit quite hot, so we're going to leave that in, and also a little bit of rosemary. Basically just remove the leaves off the rosemary, and you can leave the stalk out, but that's entirely up to you, it doesn't really matter. Okay, bit of rosemary. Excellent. Next ingredient is a bottle of good white wine. We try to use a good local produce, and pick yourself a good wine. Don't go and buy cheap wine. If you buy cheap ingredients, it will affect the taste of your meal as well. So buy good ingredients. A full bottle of white wine. And to cover all your ingredients, 1 litre of beef stock. You can use chicken stock if you like, but 1 litre of beef stock is good. So just make sure that all your ingredients are covered by the wine and beef stock, and what we'll do with that is we'll put a lid on that and leave that in the fridge to soak and marinate for a minimum of 12 hours. Now we've already got one, which I did yesterday, from also one of the rabbits that we caught ferreting out yesterday. That's been in the oven, in the fridge for that 12 hours in that stock and white wine and veggies, and that's be ready to go. We'll run through how to cook that in a couple of minutes. Okay. Now while this is happening, and you can, as I said, that'll be sitting for 12 hours, is do your vegetables. We've got baked potatoes and pumpkin to go with our rabbit today. Now's a good time, you can start preparing that. Peel your potatoes, personal preference. I like the red potatoes, or also called the Pontiacs. They're really nice. And your choice on pumpkin, and whether you get butternut or just your standard pumpkin is also good as well. All right, so I'll peel these and get these into the oven now and get them under the way. They take a little bit longer to cook to that nice, crunchy roast potato. Move your rabbit that's been soaking for about 12 hours in the veggies and stock and white wine. Take all the pieces out, and the idea of what we're wanting to do is get a nice crispy coating. Right, well we've browned up our rabbit nicely, and just on either side for a few minutes in a hot pan. Take your rabbit into a baking tray. It smells great. Then with the stock and the veggies that you had the rabbit soaking in overnight, all of that just straight in over the rabbit. Welcome back. It's been about an hour and a half in the oven now at about 180 degrees, and the roast potatoes are nice and crispy and crunchy, and the rabbit looks like it's cooked to perfection, so we'll grab it out of the oven. Now originally I had foil over the top of the rabbit, and about half an hour ago I took the foil off just to let some of the juices come out, and let sort of the veggie sort of melt down a little bit. So, all right. So we'll grab a couple of the legs out to start. And some of the veggies. Some of the mushroom and onion. A little bit of carrot. There's enough in this dish there for 2 or 3 people easily, so you know, always make sure you give everybody lots of everything. And then I've just chopped up a little bit of spring onion just for the top, a little bit of garnish, and there you go. Clean your plate up. And there's beautiful fresh rabbit from yesterday. So from basically out in the field to the plate the very next day, and you can also do it the same day if you really want to. Lovely roast crunchy potatoes, pumpkin, and some of the marinated that we created yesterday with the white wine. Beautiful flavours, very earthy and very tasty and tender.